All right. So this is going to be something a little bit new where I live stream the review that I'm doing instead of actually recording it ahead of time and all of that good nonsense. But so I just saw the movie Don Jon. Comedy. Well, except not really a romantic comedy, more just straight movies like that, where the jokes are a lot more pronounced and it's clearer that, hey, you know what, we are actually making a comedy here instead of this, which is more of a drama. So it's a romantic drama. Quick synopsis for those of you that have not seen the movie yet. Uh, it is about a guy named John. He's played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and he and he's kind of a sleaze. You know, he's kind of a slut, and he's basically a man whore in every sense of the word, other than literal. I don't think anyone's actually ever paid him. But so anyhow, his opening monologue, you know, it's just about how much he loves porn and all of that, which, you know, it's a well done monologue. But I'll be honest, I don't really know how to review something like this because this is my first time ever reviewing something like this. So, anyhow, you know, John, he goes out clubbing with his buddies, and he ends up meeting this woman and he's just played by Scarlett Johansson, who is later introduced as Barbara because he does a little sleuthing and he tries to figure out who this chick is because you know the two of them met, but she kind of like rebuffed his advances at first because she's the type of girl who's just like, no, I don't want to do things right away, which I get. All right, like, wow, that lighting makes it look like I have a really uneven goatee. But anyhow, so the two of them, they end up dating, and John reveals that he's basically a porn addict. You know, according to TV tropes, he has basically, I forget what it's called, but it's like the male form of nymphomania, which, you know, is basically a sex freak. And Barbara, who at first like doesn't give him anything, like nothing, like she's just like, you get making out and dry humping, and that is it. Until, you know, you introduce me to your family and friends and all this stuff. And I'll be honest, Barbara is very unlikable. Like, I was actually rooting because, well, all right. First, she says, hey, listen, I don't want you to lie to me. Perfectly reasonable. But then she catches him watching porn, which she hates. I mean, like, hates with a capital HATE. Like, suburban Christian mothers wish they hated porn as much as Barbara did, as much as Barbara does. And so, anyhow, the Barbara actually signs Jon up for a class, which, because she's basically trying to push him into becoming something, into, well, becoming more than just a bartender, which I kind of understand, but at the same time, I'm just like, listen, it's up to him to decide, be deciding this man's life for him. And so, anyhow, what happens is that he ends up going to the class where he meets this woman named Esther. And she's played by, who is it? I think it's Brie Larson or something. No, but it's Julianne Moore. Brie Larson plays, uh, yeah, Brie Larson plays the sister of Jon's sister. And Julianne Moore, first of all, I utterly love her as an actress because she was really great in Kingsman 2, okay? Like, I know that she couldn't, I know that Sam Jackson is still better because he's Sam Jackson. But on the other hand, you don't really get someone that can pull off such a convincing and happy, utterly psychotic villain like that. But yeah, so enough gushing about Kingsman 2. We're talking about Don Jon here, which it's okay. That's it. It's okay. It's very well put together. It's very well acted. And I will say that this is one of the rare times in which, I haven't seen many Scarlett Johansson movies. I still haven't seen Ghost in the Shell or Under the Skin yet, which are on my list. Don't worry. But I would have to say that overall, Johansson makes herself very unlikable. Now, maybe that's just my perspective, but it's true. She's a very unlikable character, which suits perfectly because at first, Jon's pretty unlikable too. He's kind of an asshole, but then you see him starting to progress as a human. Meanwhile, Barbara just stays the same. She doesn't really have very much character development other than, hey, she's really hot. And next it's, oh, hey, she's a bitch. Oh, hey, she's a crazy bitch. By the way, I'm sorry to anyone if you find the word bitch offending, but that's the best word I can use to describe her without venturing into English insult territory. And I mean England, the country, not English the language, because I'm saying this in English. What? But yeah, I've been curious about this movie for some time. That's what it looks like. And Honestly, in terms of ratings, I'd have to give it 6.5 out of 10, which is, which before y'all go, oh my God, Dylan, how could you say such a horrible thing? I Dramas aren't really my thing. I'm more of an action movie guy. I'm more of a comedy guy. I'm definitely more of a horror movie guy because, oh damn, horror movies. By the way, I cannot wait for Halloween this October. It's gonna be awesome. Especially given how it's basically gonna be H4O. Well, what are you gonna do? Like this is a movie that can be very well described as out of my general wheelhouse, which honestly kind of works to its benefit. I'm not really familiar with all of the. I'm familiar with some of the cliches, but not all of them that film really deconstructs. It deconstructs the idea that, you know, all romances are inherently one-sided because yeah, that's how it starts out for John and Barbara, where it's basically John doing everything that Barbara says regardless, but then he realizes, hey, I'm but then when he finally meets Esther and he starts going out with Esther and they start, actually like connecting as real people, then it's like, hey, this is, I will say that it is also kind of refreshing a to see a movie couple where it's an older woman and a younger man, and it's not a Mrs. Robinson type of situation, where it's, oh, hey, I banged this total MILF, which not doubting the MILFness statue of Julianne Moore. She is a MILF. However, not if she's in a retro 50s diner. Or if there's shoes sticking out of the meat grinder. Okay, Last Kingsman reference, I promise. But yeah, this is an honestly very good movie. And I will give it props to its realism, in portraying both an unhealthy relationship and a healthy one. You know, yeah, Esther's kind of on the rebound, but she still genuinely cares for John, and John genuinely cares for her, which is awesome. I mean, because I feel like in most other movies that they would have had the Julianne Moore character as the unhealthy relationship, and they would have had the Scarlett Johansson character as a healthy relationship. But at the same time, it kind of makes sense because, in the movie at least, Scarjo is, she's younger. She's still buying the whole love is like in the movies thing when they go through the cliches like the first kiss, and then, her inviting her just coming over. Probably one of the most gorgeous dresses I have ever seen her ever. So, major props to the costuming department. Major props. Oh, damn back. Don't you hate it when you have a zit on your shoulder and like it's not ready to pop, but you can't really see if it is ready to pop? So you just kind of got to feel around to see if there's like a hard pus thing. But yeah, so it's actually, you know what? I'm going to move my rating up a bit. Fuck it. Roger Ebert can do it for. Shit, what was that movie that he did for? It was on a Count Jacula list. But anyhow, I'm actually going to move my rating up to a 7. Again, still very much above average and certainly not a bad film. In fact, this places it in the good category. This is this is a good movie. It's not necessarily the kind that I would have picked out if I wasn't at the library and I was just like, hey, you know what? And I wasn't just like, hey, you know what? I want to try something new. But it is a good movie. I'm glad that I've watched it. And yeah, that's about it. So, from me, Dylan, it's 7 chainsaws out of 10. Actually, I feel like all right, 5 Dio horn, 10. I mean, not 7 Dio horns out of 10. It is very late where I am. It is 4 o'clock in the morning, and I desperately need to go to bed. But I felt I should get this review out of the way first. Anywho, good night, internet. Good night.